This is called Language Makes Sense. We've all seen the science fiction movies of great space stations where, like a great wheel in space, where a virtual sense of gravity is created internally by a series of massive wheels spinning in opposite directions to one another, much like a gyroscope. So my question here, is there a gyroscope effect using language? What is it that gives us a sense of specific gravity or a specific density to words, like a gravity of words or of phrases and ideas? What makes, we talk about a grave thought or something, a gravity thought, a heavy thought. I think we know by now, I hope, that the earth revolves around the sun rather than vice versa. And that, but what do we revolve around in the swirling convection-like state of language? What is the center? What gives it gravity? And does conceptual thinking itself also have an up and a down? And does it have a center of gravity? The answer is that it does, and language ultimately revolves around the sense that it makes. If it doesn't make sense, then it's, of course, nonsense. So we all have a moral compass, we're told we should, that hopefully, we all have kind of an internal gyroscope that keeps us upright and somehow directional, going in some way that we imagine we want to go that way. But with the mind, everything is directional, and it points this way, that way, and some other way. So language itself is all about meaning. And meaning itself, the meaning of our words and phrases, they are but pointers or references to something beyond themselves. And that's a key thought here. So that all meaning, the meaning of our words and language in general, has to do with the sense it makes. In brief, words have to make sense, or they are, as I mentioned earlier, nonsense. But the sense of words, the sense that words make, are not the words themselves. The words are only pointers, references to, or references toward where that sense can be had. What's the sense of it? Language can at best only point the way, and words are not themselves, as I said, words are not themselves the sense that they make. As pointers, they can only take us halfway there. And finally, it's we who must make sense. And I'm talking about the sense that words can only refer us to or toward. And we do this by actually living. So sense is always an experience that we must have personally, regardless of which of the 5 senses we use to have it. So this, then, is the use of language, to make sense, to lead us from the abstract virtual world of conceptions to the physical experiences of the sense world itself. We can't just put our toe in the swimming pool forever. We have to get wet. As I like to say to myself, I have to know what I'm talking about. And Shakespeare said it, I think he said it well in Hamlet's soliloquy, with the simple phrase, to be or not to be. That's the question. And we can talk a blue streak, but ultimately we have to put our money where our mouth is. And being smart is not the same as being intelligent. A wound smarts. So as mentioned above, the gravity of the specific density of words, the graveness of it, the The gravity of specific density of words and phrases can be misleading. Language by itself, without being grounded in the senses, without making sense, is little more than a murmuration of words, just like birds flock on the sky in a murmuration. So it's just drawing empty patterns in the mind. So language itself, by itself, is all pointers, all references. And although they may seem to point every which way, they can finally only point in one direction. And this is the key point here, something to think about. They can only point in one direction, and that's the direction of making sense. And that means having a sensual experience. So language has to make sense. No matter how sophisticated, no matter how intellectual or conceptual or academic our language may get, finally, the point of it has to boil down to something that makes sense to us. And the senses are sensitive. They're anything but intellectual.